Dr. Dreisbach, what worldview influenced the thinking of our founding fathers?
Well, I think the first thing to keep in mind is that the Founding Fathers were not sort of a monolithic group. They didn't come out of the same religious tradition or the same political or regional backgrounds. They come from different parts of the country with different interests, different professional backgrounds. And they were influenced by a variety of worldviews, perspectives, and the like. Clearly, they lived in a biblically literate culture. Christianity was, I would say, probably the most dominant cultural influence, but they're also being influenced by other ideas, some of which are coming from the other side of the Atlantic. Some of them, a small number of them, would be influenced by Enlightenment ideals or the ideas of classical republicanism, Whig political tradition. So they're influenced by a variety of perspectives. But I think most of them are going to be viewing these different perspectives largely through a Christian lens.
Did our founding fathers reference the Bible from a personal knowledge and interest, or was it the political thing to do at the time?
I think that's a very good question because it really gets to the heart of what I think is one of the most important questions when talking about the Bible and the American founding, and that is, for what purposes did this generation use the Bible? And the truth of the matter is, they used the Bible for a whole variety of reasons, depending on the context, depending on the purpose or the time at which they used the Bible. There are times when they use the Bible for purely literary allusions. They are trying to pick examples from history, from literature, that their audience will know and understand. And the Bible would have been one of the major sources for that kind of literary allusion. Sometimes they use the Bible for rhetorical effect. The language of the Bible, especially the language of the King James Bible, carries with it a certain authority, a certain seriousness. And so occasionally you'd find this generation using the Bible or Bible-like language to convey that kind of authority or seriousness, or to bring solemnity to a particular discourse. There are other times when you're going to find them using the Bible to to paint a parallel between their own experience and perhaps the experience of the children of Israel as described in the Old Testament. Other times they use the Bible to make theological points about who is God, the nature of God, and most especially from their perspective, how God deals with human beings in the here and now. So you find this generation using the Bible for a lot of different reasons, a lot of different purposes, and so you have to read this literature in its context. And I don't think we can make a generalized statement about why they use the Bible, but understand that they use the Bible for a variety of reasons, and you have to read each example in its context to understand and appreciate why they're using the Bible.
Did the Founding Fathers have a verse that they seem to come back to as a reference point for their worldview?
Well, I think there are a number of types of verses that the founding generation often appealed to. For example, they were very much drawn to the books of Moses, the Pentateuch, especially the book of Deuteronomy. They saw in the book of Deuteronomy a recapitulation of the law of Moses, and especially going back to colonial times, we know that many of the codes were written with the Ten Commandments or other legal statements found in the book of Moses before them. They were also drawn to the works of the prophets, passages that are sometimes called covenant lawsuit texts, passages from the Old Testament where God brings a grievance against His people for why they have departed from Him, why they have broken the contract that was in essence entered into between God and the children of Israel during their wanderings in the wilderness. And they saw parallels between their own time, their own condition, and the need to maintain a proper relationship with God. And so Americans occasionally were drawn to these covenant lawsuit type texts. They were attracted to passages of Scripture that talk about liberty, perhaps without drawing proper distinction between spiritual liberty and political liberty, but they liked verses such as proclaim liberty throughout the land, language that's inscribed on the Liberty Bell. They liked language from Corinthians talking about where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. So they used and drew on a variety of biblical passages and types of biblical literature.